My friend, let me tell you something straight from the heart. Learning English is not just about memorizing grammar rules or chasing perfection in pronunciation. It's about breaking the walls of fear that surround you and stepping into a world of confidence. Too many times people tell themselves, "It's too hard, I can't sound like a native, I'll never be good enough." But the truth is, you already have the ability inside you. You just need to stop doubting yourself and start believing that you can. Think about it. When a child learns to speak, they don't start with grammar books or vocabulary lists. They listen, they repeat, they make mistakes, and they grow. That is the secret. You don't need to be flawless, you need to be fearless. Every word you speak, even if it's broken, is a step forward. Every sentence you try, even if it's not perfect, is progress. The only thing that keeps you from speaking like a native is the fear that someone might laugh, the hesitation that someone might judge. But here's the reality. People respect courage, they respect effort, and the more you speak, the closer you get to fluency. You see, language is not just about words, it's about expression. When you speak English, don't worry about impressing others with big vocabulary. Focus on expressing your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas. That's what makes you powerful. A person who can express themselves clearly is always ahead of someone who stays silent, no matter how many words they know. And yes, you will face confusion. There will be moments when you mix up tenses, when you forget words, when your accent feels heavy. But confusion is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Every mistake you make is showing you where you need to improve. Every struggle is building your strength. Stop running from confusion. Embrace it because it is guiding you towards mastery. The truth is, you don't have to sound like anyone else. You don't need to copy an accent or pretend to be perfect. What you need is consistency, courage, and the determination to never quit. Speak every day, read every day, listen every day. Surround yourself with the language until it feels like part of you. Slowly, without even realizing it, you'll stop translating in your head. You'll stop feeling nervous. You'll start speaking naturally, with confidence flowing through every word. That is when you know you are no longer just learning English, you are living it. So don't give up. Don't let fear or confusion stop you. Speak with your heart, practice with your soul, and one day you'll look back and realize that the journey you thought was impossible became the greatest transformation of your life. Fear is the biggest enemy of fluency. When most people begin learning English, they don't struggle because the language itself is impossible. They struggle because fear has built an invisible wall in their minds. Think about it. You might know the words, you might know the grammar, you might even know exactly what you want to say, but the moment you open your mouth, hesitation takes over. You freeze. You think, what if I say it wrong? What if they laugh? What if they don't understand me? This fear is stronger than any grammar mistake. It is what stops millions of learners from ever becoming fluent. The truth is, grammar mistakes never stop you from communicating, but fear always does. When you were a child learning your first language, did you care about grammar? Of course not. You spoke with confidence, even when your sentences were broken or incomplete. You didn't stop yourself to think, wait, should this verb be past tense or present tense? You just spoke. People around you corrected you. You listened, you adjusted, and over time, you became fluent. But as adults, we let fear control us. We think others will judge us, and we trap ourselves in silence. Yet silence is the greatest mistake. Silence is the reason why so many learners stay at the same level for years. They study books, they memorize words, they know the rules, but they cannot speak. Why? Because they never conquer the fear of making mistakes. Let me tell you something very important. Mistakes are proof that you are trying. If you are speaking English and making mistakes, you are on the right path. If you are silent because you are scared, you are not learning at all. Nobody in the world became fluent without making thousands of mistakes. Every successful speaker you admire once struggled exactly like you. They once said things incorrectly, they once felt nervous, but they didn't stop. That is why they reached fluency. The difference between you and them is not talent, not intelligence, not luck. It is courage. Fear often comes from comparison. You hear someone speak perfect English and you think, I can never be like that. But you don't see their journey. You don't see the hours they spent practicing, the embarrassment they faced, the corrections they accepted. You only see the result, not the process. And you must remember, your journey is different from theirs. You don't need to sound like anyone else. You just need to keep moving forward without fear. If you open your mouth and speak, you are already one step closer than the person who stays quiet. Another thing that fuels fear is judgment from others. Maybe you've experienced someone laughing at your accent, or maybe someone corrected you harshly and it made you want to give up. But here's the reality. The people who laugh at learners are usually the ones who cannot achieve anything themselves. People who truly understand growth respect your effort. They know how much courage it takes to speak in another language. Every time you speak, no matter how imperfect, you show strength. Do not let the opinions of others decide your progress. Their laughter will fade, but your growth will last forever. The key is to shift your mindset from fear to freedom. Instead of thinking, what if I make a mistake? Start thinking, what if this mistake helps me improve? Instead of thinking, what if they don't understand me? Tell yourself, at least I am practicing, and practice always brings progress. When you change your perspective, you remove the power of fear. Suddenly, speaking becomes an opportunity, not a danger. And here's another truth. You don't need to be perfect to be understood. Even native speakers make grammar mistakes, forget words, and sometimes pause to think. Perfection is not communication. Clarity is communication. If you can deliver your message, even with mistakes, you are successful. Imagine someone asking you for directions in broken English. Do you laugh at them? No. You appreciate that they are trying and you understand their effort. The same applies to you. People will understand you if you have the courage to speak, even if your grammar is not perfect. So, the next time fear tries to stop you, remember this. Grammar mistakes won't ruin your life, but fear will ruin your chances. You must choose courage over perfection. You must allow yourself to speak, to stumble, to be corrected, and to grow. Every word you speak pushes you forward. Every mistake you make is a lesson, not a failure. The only failure is silence. You are not learning English to impress anyone. You are learning English to express yourself, to connect with people, to open doors to opportunities that silence will never give you. Fear will always whisper in your ear, telling you to stay quiet, but courage must speak louder. And once you start choosing courage over fear, you will notice something magical. Fluency will no longer feel like a distant dream. It will start becoming a reality, step by step, word by word, mistake by mistake, until one day you realize that you are speaking with freedom. When you think about how children learn language, you realize something powerful. They learn naturally, not academically. They don't sit down with grammar books or vocabulary charts. They don't overthink whether their sentence is structured correctly or whether their accent sounds good enough. They simply listen, repeat, imitate, and absorb. And that is exactly why they become fluent so quickly. Children don't carry fear, they don't carry self-doubt, they don't care about being perfect. They only care about expressing themselves. That same mindset is what you need to adopt if you want to learn English like a native. Imagine a baby learning to speak for the very first time. At first, they only listen. They hear the voices of their parents, the sounds of the environment, the rhythm of words being spoken around them. They don't speak immediately. They spend months absorbing the sounds and the flow of the language. Then, slowly, they start repeating. They mispronounce, they mix up sounds, they say incomplete words. Yet no one laughs at them or tells them, "You failed." Instead, people encourage them, clap for them, smile at their effort, and correct them gently. Over time, their words become clearer, their sentences become longer, and suddenly they are speaking fluently without ever having studied grammar formally. This is the natural process of learning, and it works for everyone, children and adults alike. Now, the problem is that as adults, we try to complicate the process. We put pressure on ourselves to speak perfectly from the very first attempt. We think we need to memorize long word lists before we can even start talking. We focus so much on grammar rules that we forget the joy of communication. But here's the truth. Language is not mathematics. It is not about rules. It is about connection. If children can learn simply by listening, copying, and practicing without fear, then you can too. The only difference is that you need to let go of your need for perfection and embrace the process of natural learning. Think about how much children repeat things. They hear a phrase once, and then they repeat it again and again until it sticks in their memory. They don't worry about sounding silly. They don't worry about what others think. They just repeat until it becomes natural. You need to do the same. If you hear a new English phrase, don't just read it once and move on. Repeat it. Speak it out loud multiple times. Use it in your conversations. The more you repeat, the more natural it becomes. Repetition is not boring. It is the secret to fluency. Another thing children do is they learn through immersion. They don't take language classes. Their entire environment is their classroom. Everywhere they go, they hear the language being spoken. They are surrounded by it, so they cannot escape it. And because of this constant exposure, the language becomes part of their daily life. For you, it may not be possible to live in an English-speaking country, but you can still create your own immersion. Fill your world with English. Watch movies and shows, listen to podcasts, read books, and most importantly, think in English. Even if your thoughts are simple, even if you make mistakes in your head, train your brain to operate in English. That is how children do it. They live in the language, not just study it. And don't forget how fearless children are when they try new words. They don't hesitate to experiment. If they hear a new word, they try using it, even if it comes out wrong. You should also have this courage. Use new words as soon as you learn them. Put them into sentences. Test them out in conversations. Don't wait until you're ready, because you'll never feel fully ready. The moment you try, you are ready enough. Children also don't compare themselves with others. One child doesn't look at another and say, "Oh, you spoke earlier than me, so I must be a failure." No, they simply learn at their own pace. But as adults, we constantly compare ourselves. That person speaks better than me, so I'll never be good enough. This comparison kills motivation. Your journey is yours alone. It doesn't matter how fast or slow you learn. What matters is that you keep moving forward. Just like children, give yourself permission to grow naturally. And remember, children are not ashamed of mistakes. They fall down, they get up, they stumble, they laugh, and they try again. This is why they improve so fast. But adults are terrified of mistakes. One small error makes them want to quit. This mindset is the biggest difference between children and adults. If you truly want to learn English like a native, you must start thinking like a child. Curious, fearless, playful, and consistent. The beauty of learning like a child is that it removes the burden of perfection. It allows you to enjoy the process instead of treating it like a test. When you listen more, repeat more, immerse yourself more, and let yourself make mistakes freely, you are following the most natural path to fluency. Just like a child eventually becomes a confident speaker, so will you. The key is to let go of fear and let curiosity take over. One of the biggest mistakes people make while learning English is trying too hard to impress others instead of focusing on expressing themselves. They worry about sounding sophisticated, using big words, or copying a perfect accent. But here's the truth. Communication is not a competition. Nobody cares about how advanced your vocabulary is if they cannot feel your message. Nobody cares about how native you sound if your words are empty. The real power of language lies in expression, not in impression. Think about why you are learning English in the first place. Is it so people admire your grammar? Or is it so you can share your thoughts, your dreams, your emotions, and your ideas with the world? The purpose of a language is to connect. If you are speaking with the goal of impressing others, you will always feel pressure. You will always hesitate, afraid that you might not sound as smart as you want to. But if you focus on expressing yourself, the pressure disappears. You are no longer trying to be perfect. You are trying to be real. And real communication always touches people more deeply than perfect grammar ever will. Think about some of the most inspiring people in the world. Many of them are not native English speakers. Some of them don't use complex vocabulary. Yet, when they speak, millions listen. Why? Because they speak from the heart. They are not trying to decorate their sentences with fancy words. They are delivering a message with passion, with clarity, with honesty. That is what makes them powerful communicators, and you can do the same. You don't need to sound like someone else. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to speak your truth in the simplest way possible. When you try to impress, you hold yourself back. You start searching for the right word instead of just saying what's in your mind. You interrupt your own flow because you think, maybe this word is too simple. Maybe I should use something bigger. By the time you overthink, the conversation has already moved on. You lose confidence and feel like you failed. But when you focus only on expressing, you don't overthink. You just say what you feel with the words you already know. The conversation becomes natural. The listener understands you. And most importantly, you build confidence with every word you speak. Expression is about clarity. If you can say something clearly, you are successful, even if the grammar isn't perfect. Let's take an example. Imagine someone asks you, "How was your weekend?" You could try to impress and say, "It was absolutely magnificent and extraordinarily delightful." But if you hesitate or sound unnatural, it won't connect. Instead, if you simply say, "It was really good, I enjoyed it a lot," your words may be simple, but they are clear, natural, and real. The listener connects with you instantly. That's the magic of expression over impression. And here's something very important. Your accent, your tone, even your mistakes can become part of your personality when you speak. Some learners think, "My accent is not good, people will laugh." But accents are not weaknesses, they are identities. They show where you come from, they tell a story of your journey. Many people actually find accents interesting and beautiful. What matters is not whether you sound native, but whether you are able to deliver your message. When your words come from the heart, people listen beyond the accent. They listen to your soul. When you focus too much on impressing, you create unnecessary barriers. You stop yourself from speaking in group discussions because you feel your English is not good enough. You avoid conversations with fluent speakers because you think you'll sound less intelligent. You stay quiet when you want to share your opinion because you are afraid of judgment. But remember, the person who stays silent because of fear loses more opportunities than the person who speaks with broken English. Silence hides your potential, while expression reveals it. Another thing to remember is that trying to impress usually leads to frustration. If you're constantly forcing yourself to memorize rare words or imitate a perfect accent, you will burn out quickly. You will feel like English is a burden, not a tool. But when you focus on expression, learning becomes enjoyable. You start using the language to talk about things you love, to share your stories, to connect with people. And when you enjoy the process, fluency comes naturally without you even realizing it. Think about the last time you had a real, meaningful conversation in your native language. Did you worry about grammar? Did you try to show off your vocabulary? No, you just expressed yourself freely, and the listener understood you. That is exactly how you should approach English. Don't treat it like a test. Treat it like a bridge between your heart and another person's heart, a bridge between your thoughts and the opportunities waiting for you. So the next time you speak English, don't ask yourself, "Will I impress them?" Ask yourself, "Will they understand me?" Because understanding is the true goal. Fluency is not about sounding like a dictionary. It is about being able to express yourself in a way that touches people, inspires them, or simply makes them connect with you. Every time you choose expression over impression, you take one step closer to true confidence. And that confidence will carry you further than any complicated vocabulary or polished accent ever could. Confusion is often seen as a weakness, but in reality, it is one of the strongest signs that you are learning. When you feel confused in English, when you mix up words, when you don't understand a sentence, when you forget the right tense, it doesn't mean you are failing. It means your brain is stretching, your mind is working, and you are growing. The problem is that most people misinterpret confusion. Instead of seeing it as progress, they see it as proof that they are not good enough. They feel discouraged and think, "I will never understand this language." But here's the truth. Every learner, no matter how successful today, has gone through the same stage of confusion. It is not a barrier, it is a stepping stone. Think about the first time you tried to ride a bicycle. At the beginning, everything felt uncomfortable. Your balance wasn't right, your legs felt shaky, and you probably fell more than once. That confusion in your body, your brain trying to figure out balance, your muscles trying to coordinate, was not failure. It was learning. And after enough attempts, you didn't just ride the bicycle, you rode it with ease, without even thinking. The same thing happens with English. At first, the grammar, the vocabulary, the pronunciation, they all feel overwhelming. But slowly, with repetition, your brain starts connecting the dots. What once felt confusing becomes automatic. The mistake many learners make is avoiding confusion instead of embracing it. They want English to feel easy from the beginning, so the moment it becomes complicated, they give up. But language is not supposed to feel easy right away. Just like lifting weights at the gym, the struggle is what makes you stronger. If you only lift light weights, you never build muscle. If you only practice easy English, you never grow. Confusion is like lifting heavy weights. It challenges your brain, and that challenge is what leads to real improvement. Confusion also shows you where you need to focus. For example, if you constantly mix up past and present tense, that confusion is pointing you toward practice in that area. If you struggle to understand native speakers when they talk fast, that confusion is telling you to train your listening more. Without confusion, you wouldn't know what to work on. In fact, confusion is like a map. It guides you to your weak points so you can turn them into strengths. And let's be honest, even native speakers feel confused sometimes. They forget words, they use grammar incorrectly, they pause to think. So why should you as a learner expect to feel confident all the time? If you are confused, you are in the same boat as everyone else who has ever tried to master a skill. Don't treat it as an enemy. Treat it as a natural part of growth. Another reason confusion is so powerful is that it pushes you to ask questions. When you don't understand something, you are forced to look deeper, to seek answers, to practice harder. Every question you ask clears up some confusion, and every time confusion clears, your confidence rises. If you never got confused, you would never learn deeply. You would only scratch the surface. Confusion pushes you beyond the surface into real mastery. Sometimes confusion feels embarrassing. Maybe you are speaking and suddenly forget a word, and everyone is watching you. Maybe you are listening to someone and cannot follow their speed, so you smile and nod without understanding. These moments feel uncomfortable, but they are gold. They are your teachers, because that awkwardness is what will make you prepare better next time. That embarrassment is what will remind you to practice more listening, or to learn a replacement phrase when you forget a word. Every uncomfortable moment in English is actually a lesson in disguise. Here's something powerful to remember. Progress hides inside confusion. When you push through confusion, your brain creates new connections. Science shows that when we struggle with something difficult, our brain literally builds new pathways. That's why the confusion stage feels hard. It's your brain building, but after enough repetition, those pathways become stronger, and suddenly what once confused you becomes natural. Don't be afraid of mixing up words. Don't be afraid of not understanding everything. Don't be afraid of making mistakes in grammar. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs that you are alive in the process of learning. Confusion is proof that you are outside your comfort zone, and only outside your comfort zone does real transformation happen. So the next time you sit with an English book and feel lost, or the next time you listen to a native speaker and cannot follow every word, don't get discouraged. Smile and say to yourself, "This is my teacher. This confusion is shaping me." Because one day when you look back, you will realize that the moments that confused you the most were the moments that taught you the most. They forced you to grow, they forced you to practice, and they forced you to rise above your limits. Consistency is the hidden key that unlocks fluency. Many people start learning English with excitement, but after a few days or weeks, they lose focus. They study intensely for 1 week and then stop for a month. They practice speaking one day and then remain silent for weeks. This stop-and-go approach kills confidence. The truth is, language is not mastered through bursts of energy. It is mastered through steady, daily steps. Even small steps, if taken consistently, will lead you further than big leaps that are taken rarely. Think of English like planting a seed. If you water it every single day, even with just a little water, it will grow. Slowly, steadily, but surely. But if you forget to water it for weeks and then suddenly pour a bucket of water, the plant will suffer. Learning works the same way. A little practice every day is far more powerful than hours of practice once in a while. Consistency keeps the language alive in your mind. Without consistency, your progress keeps dying and restarting, which is why so many learners feel stuck at the same level for years. When you practice every day, something magical happens. English becomes part of your routine, part of your lifestyle, part of your identity. It stops being a subject I am studying and becomes a language I live in. And this shift is what builds confidence, because the more you use English in your daily life, the more natural it feels. Instead of thinking in your native language and translating, you begin to think directly in English. That transition only comes with consistent exposure, not with random practice. Many learners believe they need to spend hours every day to improve, but that is not true. Even 15 to 30 minutes of focused practice daily can transform your skills if you stay consistent. Read a short article, listen to a podcast, speak out loud to yourself, write a short journal entry. These small habits add up over time. Consistency is like a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's small, but as it keeps rolling, it grows bigger and bigger. The more days you stay consistent, the faster your fluency grows. Another thing consistency does is it removes fear. Every time you practice English, even if it's just a little, you prove to yourself that you are capable. You build trust in yourself, and that trust becomes confidence. Imagine two learners. One practices speaking once a month, the other practices every single day, even for just 10 minutes. Who will feel more confident after 3 months? The daily learner, of course. Not because they are smarter, but because they built confidence through repetition. Confidence is not a gift. It is the result of showing up consistently, even when you don't feel ready. Consistency also fights against forgetfulness. The human brain forgets quickly if it does not review information. That's why many learners feel like they are learning and forgetting. It's not because they are weak or incapable. It's because they lack consistency. If you learn a new word today but never use it again, you will forget it. But if you repeat it tomorrow, then again the next day, then use it in a sentence during the week, it will stick. The brain loves repetition. Consistency ensures that repetition happens naturally. The greatest benefit of consistency is momentum. At first, learning feels difficult. You may struggle to understand, you may get frustrated, you may even feel like giving up. But when you push yourself to show up every day, you build momentum. Suddenly, it becomes easier to continue than to stop. Just like exercising, the hardest part is starting. Once you build the habit, it becomes part of your rhythm. And when English becomes part of your rhythm, fluency stops being a dream and starts being your reality. Remember, confidence does not come from waiting until you are perfect. Confidence comes from doing something repeatedly until it feels natural. When you first start speaking English, you may feel nervous, but the more you speak, day after day, the less nervous you become. At some point, your brain accepts it as normal and confidence flows naturally. That is the power of consistency. It transforms fear into familiarity. Even successful people in every field, not just language, rely on consistency. Athletes train daily, musicians practice daily, writers write daily. They don't wait for inspiration. They know that greatness is built from discipline, not from random effort. You must treat English the same way. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you feel ready. Just show up every day, even for a little while. That's how you build strength, skill, and confidence. The mistake most learners make is chasing shortcuts. They look for a fast method or magic trick to become fluent overnight, but fluency is not a trick, it is a lifestyle. It is the result of consistent effort over time. Just like you cannot grow a strong body by going to the gym once a month, you cannot build fluency by practicing only when you feel like it. Consistency is the gym of your mind. Every small session makes you stronger, even if you don't notice it immediately. And here's the most encouraging truth. Consistency does not demand perfection. You don't need to practice for hours. You don't need to be 100% correct every time. You just need to keep showing up, even on the days when you feel tired, even on the days when you feel like you are not improving. Keep going, because every single effort counts. Fluency is not built in one day, but it is built day by day. The final and most powerful step to mastering English is to stop treating it like a subject you study and start living it as a part of your daily life. Too many learners trap English inside textbooks, classrooms, or study sessions. They separate it from their normal world, so it always feels like extra work. But language is not meant to stay on paper. It is meant to live, to breathe, to flow through your conversations, your thoughts, your habits. If you want to speak English like a native, you must immerse yourself so deeply in it that it becomes part of who you are. Think about how you learned your first language. You didn't study it. You lived in it. Every sound around you was in that language. Every conversation you heard, every story told, every interaction was practice. That's why you became fluent without even realizing it. The same principle applies now. If you surround yourself with English, if you make it part of your environment, you will grow naturally. Fluency is not something that happens only inside lessons. It happens in the moments when you live the language. Living the language means building an English-rich environment around you, no matter where you are. If you cannot travel to an English-speaking country, create your own English-speaking world. Listen to English songs. Watch movies without subtitles. Follow YouTube channels or podcasts in English. Change your phone's settings to English and read articles, books, or even social media posts in English. When you start surrounding yourself with it, your brain begins to adapt. It stops treating English as foreign and starts treating it as normal. That mental shift is what accelerates fluency. But living the language is not only about listening and reading, it is also about thinking and speaking. Train yourself to think in English, even about simple things. If you are cooking, narrate the steps in English in your head. Now I'm cutting the vegetables. Now I am boiling the water. If you are walking outside, describe what you see. The weather is nice. That tree looks beautiful. These small habits may seem simple, but they are powerful because they connect your daily life with the language. Instead of practicing English only during study time, you are practicing it every moment of your life. Another way to live the language is to create opportunities for real interaction. If you don't have native speakers around you, that doesn't mean you are alone. Technology gives you endless possibilities. Join online communities, practice with language partners, participate in group discussions, or even record yourself speaking and listen back. The more you interact, the more natural your speech becomes. Remember, language grows strongest in real conversations, not in silence. And here's something important. Don't just use English in formal situations. Use it in your hobbies, your entertainment, your fun. If you love sports, read about your favorite athletes in English. If you enjoy cooking, follow recipes in English. If you like motivational speeches, listen to them in English. When you connect the language to your passions, it no longer feels like a burden. It becomes part of your joy. And when learning feels joyful, consistency becomes effortless. Living the language also means not switching back to your native language whenever it feels easier. Of course, in the beginning, it is tempting to translate everything, but translation slows you down. Instead, challenge yourself to stay in English, even if it feels uncomfortable. If you forget a word, describe it in another way. If you don't know the exact phrase, use a simpler one. This practice forces your brain to think directly in English, and over time, it becomes natural. The more you live in English, the more your subconscious mind absorbs. You may not notice it immediately, but every song you listen to, every movie line you hear, every article you read is planting seeds in your brain. One day, when you are speaking, those seeds come alive. Words you never studied formally will flow out of your mouth simply because you heard them repeatedly in real contexts. That is the power of immersion. It teaches you without you even realizing you are being taught. Living the language also builds confidence because it removes the gap between study mode and real life. Many learners feel nervous when speaking because they treat English like something separate from themselves. They think, "This is not my language. I am only learning it." But when you live in English every day, that gap disappears. You no longer feel like an outsider. You feel like a participant. You are no longer learning English, you are being English. And that shift changes everything. Of course, there will be times when living the language feels tiring. Sometimes you will crave the comfort of your native language. Sometimes you will feel like English is too much. But remember, every time you push through that discomfort, you are rewiring your brain. You are teaching it that English is not temporary, it is permanent. That persistence is what leads to mastery. Living the language is not about where you live. It is about how you live. You don't need to be in London, New York, or Sydney to become fluent. You can be anywhere in the world and still surround yourself with English. Your environment is not just the city outside your window. Your environment is also the choices you make daily. And if your choices are filled with English, your life will naturally shape itself around fluency. So don't keep English locked away in your notebooks. Bring it into your world. Speak it, hear it, read it, think it, feel it. The more you live the language, the faster it becomes a part of you. And when English becomes part of you, fluency is no longer a dream. It is your daily reality. So, my friend, the truth is simple. English is not some distant mountain that only a few can climb. It is not a privilege given to others and denied to you. It is a skill, a tool, a language that is already waiting to live inside you. Fear may have held you back, but you are stronger than fear. Confusion may have slowed you down, but every moment of confusion was proof that you were growing. Mistakes may have embarrassed you, but those mistakes were not failures, they were stepping stones toward your fluency.